Okay, so at first when Nathan was saying that he was going to compare this to Dunder Mifflin and like corporate mission statements, I'm like, you're making it sound all negative. And you had a point.
Go on. Tell me what my point was so I hear it.
His point was not every kid is going to leap for joy when their parents come to them wanting to do a family vision statement.
Right.
I get that. I understand. So we're going to give this whole podcast as how to handle this for the kids that are excited about it and for the ones who are skeptical.
And how are we going to do that, Ashley?
We're going to dive in right now.
Mama says namaste. Mama says namaste.
Making a family can be easy and fun.
Oh yeah, but raising a family can be a whole different story.
From spouses to kids to the crazy daily grind, life often directs us away from connection and more into reactive chaos.
If you're tired of that cycle and are seeking something beyond the picket fence blues, this is the show for you.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Nathan.
And we're here to take you from chaos to clarity by bringing awareness and intention into your home, not waiting for one day, and highlighting how
the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us.
Take a deep breath in and let's start a brand new day. With Mama says namaste.
All right, so here I am looking at a blog post that I reference all the time on family vision, and I wrote it 8 years ago, and yet I didn't have a podcast episode to go with it. And so I've gone back and I've looked at all we wrote 8 years ago, and it's just amazing to see and reflect on that, and to now speak about family vision from the perspective of our children's ages now.
Mm-hmm.
In the intro here, you even referenced how you were rolling your eyes about creating a family vision. What we want to do in the podcast today is to identify why it's valuable and how to do it. And we're going to do it with the lens of how I approached it originally with my young children who were so excited about doing this family project together. And with the realistic version of what you kind of portrayed,
Well,
Nathan.
sure. It can be kind of like a Dunder Mifflin, like, all right, everybody's already kind of frustrated and unmotivated, and now you're trying to get them to, be positive and outgoing.
Right. You've got the teenagers who are what am I being dragged into today?
And so you want to, depending on the stage that you're in, if you have little kids, you can do this, the method that we did early on. But if you're a little farther along in life, like if we were to bring this into our kids right now, how would we approach it?
Exactly. So would we address creating a family vision? When we first started looking at doing this, it was all the way back at the beginning of kind of our adventures and the beginning of my business. And we were dreaming and cultivating together. So the quick Cliff's Notes version of our story is that back in 2014, when we were celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary, we were off to Cancun, and I was having all this luxurious time to read my book, and I was reading Danielle Laporte's Firestarter Sessions. And it talked about having these feelings behind our goals and just going deeper for how does that really feel and kind of sitting in that emotion.
Yeah. And it really changed the way we started looking and planning for our life and how we wanted to really kind of parent and be more intentional about game planning for our businesses and game planning for our family.
Right. We were following a lot. I was following a lot of business people just with my work with my father's business, 48 Days. And so Danielle Laporte and reading this book, and then I was following Seth Godin, and he says, instead of wondering when your next vacation will be, why not create a life you don't want to escape from?
So we started playing around with how this could look. And we started with a big, long vacation that we decided to take a month off in the middle of a hectic real estate schedule and school schedule and your work schedule with 48 days. We decided to try to just take a month off and enjoy ourselves.
We just got super intentional and we made it happen. And yes, we had to hustle. Yes, we had to plan way in advance. Yes, it took some sacrificing to make it work and finagling to make it work. And was it worth it?
It's totally worth it because it opened our eyes to not only the concepts of just new forms of relaxation and enjoying life, but a way to educate our children and ourselves with how rich and diverse this world is and to go out there and explore it. And so we wanted to really incorporate that feeling of travel and awe and excitement and exploration into our life and in our work somehow.
Right. So we came back from this trip and we started thinking, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to move to Costa Rica? I'm looking at you wearing a shirt that says Costa Rica, Pura Vida, that you got there on that trip.
Back in 2015.
Yeah, one of the ones that's not threadbare at this point. But when we started dreaming of what our life was going to look like, we realized we were really all over the place. Do we move to Costa Rica? Do we buy a bigger house in Nashville, Tennessee? Do we hit the road and RV the States full time, which we'd kind of been hearing about, and it sounded kind of intriguing. And so we had a lot of ideas, and I had a lot of wonderful mentors and support and encouragers and insights that I was learning from in the 48 Days community. And one of them was Scott Beebe, and he was a business coach who originally came to my father for coaching, and then my father came to him later on, years later, for coaching as well. And he works in the business arena, but at one point he had come out with a course that was on creating a family vision. And so Nathan and I took it 8 years ago. And so this was back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2015, we sat down and we did this course together and we took notes. And we said, okay, we're going to do this with our family. And so we sat down with our family and we started to look and identify, what do we want our family to be? What kind of home life do we want to create and cultivate? What feelings and emotions do we want to sit in here in this home?
And we started to realize how important it was to be intentional about that, and not only intentional, but also to communicate that to our kids so that they knew what we were trying to create. You know, it wasn't just this, we're doing this and, see where you can fit in. We wanted to include them in that process. So when they were little, what we did is we pulled out a roll, if I remember, right? Big old roll of paper. And what did we do, Ashley?
Yeah, when they were little, it was a time of us just kind of sitting down and looking and dreaming together. And so we brought the kids in and we had a big old thing of butcher paper out on a table and all kinds of markers and stuff. And hey, I will tell you this. I don't care if your kids are 3, if your kids are 13 or 15 or 25 or 30 and they like to doodle, do the same thing. Have fun. Like, add some play, add some lightness to it. This is a time to just hang out.
Yeah, we had some great music playing, and we were just, windows open, and it was just a joyous time. And just, what are some things that you enjoy and that you want to see and bring more of into this world?
Right. And now, sometimes you have opportunities where this is coming because you're in desperate need of a reset. And so, before you create, it may be the first thing that needs to happen is sitting down and just discussing some non-negotiables in the family. And that's the things that you don't want to invite into your home.
Yes, very true. We kind of, one of the things that we started doing early on when we were going through some pretty heavy family stuff was we would have those very heavy conversations, usually outside on our back porch. Mm-hmm. We'd have them in a space that was separate or that could be kind of, that wasn't a core part of what we did every single day. Just because that energy can kind of get stuck in those places. And, you need to be aware of how and who you are. You might not realize, sometimes that, whenever you get behind the car, you become a rage machine because of all the other people out there and it's just recognizing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were very careful for the sake of our relationship and the energy we brought into the home, that some of our conversations when we were having a lot of family drama with extended family and different things going on, we kept outside of the home. When we were in stressful work environments, we'd often air it all outside and then go in for a breath of fresh air. Yeah. But we talk with the kids on, it's those guidelines when they're little. It's things like, do we speak to each other in mean ways? Do we yell, I hate you? Do we say stupid in our homes? Well, why not? It's doing some family standards. And so we're looking for what are some standards and some things that we don't want to allow. Like, okay, is our house a safe place? Can we respect each other's things and not touch each other's things? Is that something that's really important as a family? That we can have these kind of as some standards and some golden rules. And so sometimes we assess first. And the other step with that is, there's a quote that's talking about it's very hard to recognize success if you've never identified what it is. Yeah. And so how do we identify that in our home? If we don't identify what it is and what it isn't, then we aren't going to be able to celebrate what we are living in
When
when
you're
we're
winning.
there.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are some of the reasonings for having a family vision. It's so that you can identify and you can get intentional versus reactive in your home. And everybody, no matter what age or how excited they may be about doing it, can at least recognize that, their energy and who they are has an impact on the rest of the family. And same goes for every other person in there. So if you want to have a sanctuary, if you want to have a safe place to recharge or any of those things that are desire in your heart and for your home, you got to communicate it with everyone else. And that's where getting on the same page and all sitting down and having a discussion around this airs those things. And you may find out that there are dreams or desires that you didn't have. I mean, we didn't know for sure how excited our kids would be about travel. Yet when we pulled out a piece of paper and we said, all right, family, everybody write out every word and every picture, draw everything, use different colors, do anything you can when you think of home and all the beautiful things that you want home to be for you. What does that look like? And we saw a whole lot of RVs and travel and outdoors things, and we saw some common themes.
Yep. Well, another thing to keep in mind as you're kind of working through this as a family is I think it's a good idea to have kind of some overarching themes instead of saying, we do not lie. Sometimes when you point out the issue, it can kind of magnify the issue. And you can kind of demonize and create some more divisiveness where you're really probably looking for more unity. And so it can be more suggestive, like, well, we're, Logsons are honest in all situations, or, curious about truth.
Oh, that's a good point. Even if you're bringing up the things that are that frustration for the frustration for the family or points of tension, for example, like screens, and screens can be a major frustration. Well, instead of saying no technology, maybe it's, we
manage our time for family.
There you go. We manage our time for family, and then we've switched it to a positive.
Right.
So even those things that are the negatives or the things you don't want in your home, when you then start discussing it as a family vision and it's valuable, speak the reality of what you want, not what you don't.
Right. Like with little kids, this usually isn't a big deal. But when you have older kids involved and you're really having a discussion, the goal is not to try to create a family rule that,
right. Ostracizes somebody.
Limit somebody, because it can, we're all growing and learning how to work with each other. And so it's important just to keep that in mind. And, I don't know if you want to share ours, but that's why, or when we're going to share ours, but that's why we kept ours kind of broad and vague, is it allowed for more opportunities for us to have discussions around being caring or being thoughtful or being aware or in a bigger conversation.
Right. Okay. So before we share what ours is, I want to share on the preparation side, the idea side. If you're thinking, well, I don't even know how to even get started with the family vision. First off, Google it. Look on Pinterest. You'll find all kinds of things on Pinterest for family vision. Another thing, go to a store like TJ Maxx or any kind of home store. Look at all the posters that they have on the wall. Family rules and laugh often, love much. All these different sayings. Think of quotes that your family loves. Be the change you wish to see in the world. That was has been our daughter's most favorite quote her whole life. And so what are those things that stand out, that resonate? So this can work for any age here of what those things are that kind of stand out, that make a good idea. Now, then, as far as what your family vision looks like, there are a few things here. I've had many people that I have talked to. There was one school program that I worked with where part of the school program was they were required to write a family vision. And yet every family that I talked to that had written their family vision, I said, oh, that's so great. What is it? Oh, I don't know. I've got it in a drawer over in the corner.
Yeah.
I haven't pulled it out in a while. So with that, make it short and sweet. My family vision, the family statement that my family had growing up was a poem that my mom found in a magazine. And it was, in a safe place, people are kind. Sarcasm, fighting, backbiting, and name-calling are exceptions. Kindness, consideration, and forgiveness are the ways of life. And it goes on. It shared, the safe place there is laughter, not just the canned laughter of television, but true laughter that comes from meaningful work and play. I'm spouting off pieces of it that was my family statement when I was a young child. And it was drilled into my head, not because my parents were barking it through me, but because they made it into something beautiful. And my mom wrote it out. She found it in a magazine. She wrote it out. We talked about it as a family, and she put it in prime spots in our household. Number 1, on the refrigerator door, where children always will go to. Number 2, at the bathroom, where everybody needs to go regularly, many times a day.
Number 3, in the background of their cell phone.
There you go. You put it in the background of their cell phone. You think about the creative ways to make it visible and make it apparent. Make it short. Get an idea from somewhere else. Make it short, easy to remember, easy to memorize. Because if you're not saying it repeatedly, if it's not becoming a part of your daily life, it's forgotten.
Yeah. But that's the important piece is you when you're coming together, you want to look at those things that kind of tie you together, that unify you guys and excite you as a family. And that's what you want your family to be about, those sorts of things.
Right. So ours was super simple. When we did it, our kids were 3, 7, and 9. And if you go to the blog post, you'll see a video it's so cute, a video of them at those ages doing the family vision. And so we spent an afternoon drawing together, and we've got a big sheet, and we show the sheet off in the video and show how we did it and everything. And then we memorized it. First off, it kind of rhymes. Second off, we learned the signs for it because I was teaching the girls sign language, and so they learned the signs. And all of that just reinforced it in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
So it's explore, respect, listen, connect, learn, and love. 6 words: explore, respect, listen, connect, learn, and love. And it has helped us in so many things. Instead of, Juliet, stop stomping on that toy. Hey, Jules, what's our family vision? Explore, respect, listen, connect, learn, and love. Is that showing respect to that toy? No, it isn't. All right. Well, what do you think we should do? I should remember the family vision. Little reminders that all of a sudden is not me barking at my children, but it is a common ground agreement that we're all helping and supporting each other and reinforcing so that we create the home environment that we all want to come home to.
Right. And sometimes we forget to have those discussions with our little tiny roommates that we made. That here's kind of here's what remember, this is what the dishes we need to, because I like to eat off of clean plates. I know you do too, and so just talking about those and having those conversations. And when you have a family vision or a mission that just kind of that feeds into those daily concepts that you're working through with your kids as they're figuring out how to be good people as well and be good roommates and work with other people, that's a great tool to help kind of fall back on. And honestly, kind of creates a change from, instead of you saying, why are you always, why is this happening? Why do you do this? It's, do we do this?
Right.
Are we about this? Can we find a solution here versus more of a black and white?
Right. And we've got another podcast episode that I'll link to in the blog that is called Notice and Do, where we really talk about how so often, oftentimes it's the mom, but it can be the dad too, takes on the mental load of everything that needs to be done in a household and has to assign those tasks and tell everybody else what they need to do. When the reality is we're all living in this household. We're all bringing our own personal impact into this household, and we're all deciding how we want to live in it. So be a good roommate and be considerate of others. And so we did a whole podcast just kind of talking about ideas on how to do that with our kids. And so, yeah, we're cultivating, as our daughter Jules said this week. She told us, she said, I'm not a kid. I'm an immature adult. And how right she is. Okay. I mean, where is that line? We know, any of us as parents or whoever have passed our 18th year know that there is no magic that makes a person an adult at 18 other than the legal ramifications of it. Right. Other than that, becoming an adult or being a kid is all about, where you are at heart, and you can be a kid at heart forever and whatever you want to call yourself, kid, child, or adult, you make an impact, and you can be personally responsible for your impact. And that's what we work with our children with at a very young age. And so having an ethos, having a family vision that we can all stand from together and say, hey, this is how we want to represent. This is who we are. And this is my safety in knowing that this is what I can trust home to be.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that you're going to get it right all the time. We all mess up.
But it at least has shown your children a way to create a world that they have a little more control and impact in. And, they can they can build their own vision that, fits their future one day. But that's really I'm not trying to necessarily, of course I want my kids to learn these important lessons, but I also realize as a parent that I don't get to be the teacher for everything. And
Right.
so the more I can influence, their the way they interact, or, the way they can express themselves in this world, I think the better. And the more you do that as a unification, where it's, again, not that I'm telling you, but we're trying to do this together. I think
what can we create
what
together?
can we create together? It's just, it really changes the energy of a family, from being more, I guess, pyramid style to, holding hands, or circular.
Circular, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It does. It really creates a little bit more of that family community.
Like the
we all
Lancelot,
can
or
have,
what is it, Camelot of,
right. It's the
attitude.
uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us, Nathan. That's what it is.
there you go.
Yeah, it's our tagline. Yeah, so, and to that point, which you were just talking about, it's not, this is a constantly growing and morphing thing. I always want two standards to add to it. I want grace for growth, and I want permission to pivot. Because as our lives change, we may reevaluate, and we may hold different standards. We may decide as part of our family vision that for a stretch, it's going to be that, and we're going to go to Greece. And we have that as like a family goal so much that then that's the reminder when there's the kids going out for that impulse buy, and you go, hey, what are we planning on right now? We're going to Greece. Okay, I won't. So like, our visions and our dreams as a family and the things that we cultivate are going to grow as our family grows. And so we also we go back to this statement every single year. We go back and we ask ourselves two questions. Number one, does the vision need to change as we've grown? Because maybe it was around a specific goal we've accomplished, or because it was more age specific for young kids and we want to make it something different. That's fine. Maybe our vision needs to change, and it's a new time to come together and say what we loved about the old one and what we want to shift.
Yeah. Don't discount the season you're in.
Exactly. And the second one is maybe the vision's spot on. Maybe we're a little out of alignment, and maybe it's a time for a reset and for us to come together as a family and really look hard at the past year and say, okay, where might we be off when we all are still saying this is the desire we want? What can we do to get back to it?
Or do we need to change that direction? Yeah. And I've found that red light, yellow light, green light approach to kind of a family vision or an intention is really valuable, because it doesn't put anything in stone. It makes things very flexible, but it does make things somewhat concrete. Like we're moving in a direction, but we're going to figure out what is the best and most efficient way as we're cruising through.
Right. It's connecting with your team.
Yeah.
Let's take it full circle back to business. I mean, you have team meetings for a reason. It's to get everybody on the same page. You have a business vision statement to get everybody on the same page with understanding what the vision is for the company. You show up at your finest when you're presenting for the boss. Do you do that at home? Do you give that same love and respect at home? Do you fully show up at home? You think about all the business principles that, I've lived in for the past 20 years in my dad's business, and all along the way, I have seen how relevant so many of them are in our homes. Not in a way that's taking out the personal side at all, but in recognizing if we put that much intention and purpose in the homes, our richest legacy, the biggest riches that we can have, what type of life would we cultivate?
Yeah. Even if you gave it, 10, 15% of energy. You just think about how much that kind of energy could change.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a full, all right, I'm all dad now, but just keeping, how can I add
Just that little bit.
little bit.
What's that little nudge? So this is your week to make it happen. Gather your family and think of your family as everybody that lives under your roof. We all have different variations of what that may be. But what's home to you? What's that environment look like? And who are the people that are gracing it all the time? So then how do you create an environment that cultivates a place you don't want to escape from? How do you create peace and sanctuary in your home, or the fun and the light in your home that you want? What are those things that would draw you back home? You know, for those of you who are empty nesters, what would draw the kids back home? That is that beautiful element of your mantra, your foundation.
Bedrooms with $10,000 hidden somewhere in them.
Exactly. But dream together. Start looking at what common themes there are that are important in your life, and get crafty with it. Have fun with making it. You'll see on the blog post, I was inspired by a coaching client of mine whose family did a whole painting together where they all kind of added to it and created a beautiful custom painting with their family vision on it. And so we did the same thing, and we had a lot of fun with it. So Ellie's holding up hers on our blog post as well. So have fun. We'd love to see what it is that you create as a family, and we'd love to hear your story. So feel free to reach out to us. You can do that at any point just by going to mamasaysnamaste.com and hitting that contact button. And we love your questions. So if you have a question for us to address on the podcast for anything to create that intentional home and life you thrive in, let us know. And until then, may you explore, respect, listen, connect, learn, and love. It can mean so much and yet be so simple. So get intentional about creating and cultivating those relationships in the world where we thrive in, so that we truly can celebrate how the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us. Namaste.
2, 3. Up with the rising sun, already on the run. Mama says namaste. Life is a tangled mess, and you don't have to stress. Mama says namaste. 'Cause today I will stand up and